Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new fangled motion picture show.
Oh, hi, Niall.
I'm not doing it, Nolan.
Doing what?
I'm not doing the Tommy voice.
But Niall, we just came from seeing The Disaster Artist.
That we did. So like our normal thing is to do a spoiler-free bit.
Yeah.
On New Fangle Motion Picture Show. And then give a spoiler warning and then go into more spoiler territory.
Yeah. Right.
I feel like it's almost unnecessary for this movie.
Yeah, the only thing I have that might be spoilers is actually just comparing things from the movie to the book.
Yeah. But like, I mean, I guess if you have absolutely no idea about the interesting fellow that is Tommy Wiseau,
yeah,
then there's potentially some spoilers.
I can't imagine anyone would have any desire to see this movie without having seen The Room first, though.
Yeah, and I don't think... I think the movie would mean absolutely nothing to you if you haven't.
Yeah, I mean, it might be an entertaining story, but you'd lose... you'd lose a lot not being familiar with The Room first.
Someone didn't silence their cell phone.
Yeah? How do you know?
I heard it go off. You normally have it out.
Yeah.
On the IMDb.
It was in my pocket, sorry. Problem with that? Anyway, so The Disaster Artist.
Yeah. So this was a very well done movie.
Yeah, it's based off the book, which is
Oh my god.
what?
Sorry, continue. I'll go over that in a second.
It's written by Greg Sestero, and he played Mark in the
Room.
In the Room, and it's semi-autobiographical and semi-biographical because it tells a little bit of Tommy Wiseau's story, a little bit of his story, jumps back and forth between the two of them in the book, anyway, and it's just mostly about the making of The Room. Well, it starts with how they became friends, and it jumps back and forth between the making of The Room and just elements of their friendship and their relationship together.
See, you've read the book.
I have read the book.
I have not read the book myself, but I feel like in a lot of ways I've read it vicariously through you, because anytime you read like any sort of nonfiction that's interesting, you tell me about it as you read it.
Yeah.
Over the course of the week or two or whatever it takes to read it. Like you did that with the Kevin Smith biography and the Ron Perlman one as well, I think. Right. You read that one. Anyway, what I was saying, oh my god, about, by the way, is this banner ad on IMDb for these Star Wars color changing spoons that are available in certain General Mills cereals.
Uh-huh. Oh.
We need to get them, Nolan.
Do we?
Yep. Anyway, so this movie is a movie that I think needed to exist.
Yeah, I think
like it's frequently regarded as the worst movie ever made.
The Room is.
The Room is not The Disaster Artist. The Room. Yeah.
Right.
And which is a lie. If anyone out there who has seen Birdemic will be able to tell you.
Yeah, Birdemic is a worse movie than The Room.
Birdemic was hard to watch even with the Riff Tracks live riff of it.
Yes, Birdemic was... I would agree Birdemic is the worst
I
movie.
would sit down and watch The Room with not by myself, but with like a room full of people.
Yeah.
I would not sit down and watch Birdemic. Like, even with the riff, I have no desire to ever see that again.
The Room is... It has a charm in its own way.
Yeah.
Like, both filmmakers are really trying But Tommy Wiseau is far more competent than the guy that made Birdemic.
Yeah.
And if you see this movie, or especially read the book, that's really hard to be less competent a filmmaker.
Yeah, so the room is this. I mean, just to give you a brief rundown of what the room is about, just in case you for whatever reason haven't seen it, which I don't see why you would have any interest in The Disaster Artist if you haven't seen the room. But it's a hot mess. The story makes no sense. The behavior of the characters makes no sense. The continuity is just all over the place.
They have random establishing shots that last for several minutes. The longest sex scene ever put to film, I think it's like 11 minutes long.
He's not joking. Like, it's literally the longest sex scene in a movie.
Yeah, that's not like a porno movie.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a hot mess, but it's this guy Tommy Wiseau wanted to make a movie.
He wanted to act.
He wanted to act, and he decided since he couldn't make it as an actor because he's weird. He has this bizarre accent that's super thick, and it's just and he can't act. But he so he wrote and produced and directed this movie called The Room, and his best friend Greg Sestero, somebody he met in acting class, who was a struggling actor also, but he had done a few things by that point. He was also in the movie. Tommy wrote a part for him, and they made this movie. And Tommy Wiseau is, nobody's sure how wealthy he is, but he's ridiculously wealthy.
He funds the whole movie by himself.
He funds the whole movie by himself, and to give you an idea, he buys all the equipment. No movie buys the equipment, the camera, the sound equipment, it's all rented.
Yep.
Because it's prohibitively expensive to buy.
Yeah.
Tommy Wiseau buys it.
When, like, the Star Wars movies and the Avengers movies are filmed on rented equipment, this guy bought it.
Yeah. This movie cost, it was like $6 million to make or something like that. And if you look at it, it shouldn't cost $1 million to make this movie.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of nobody actors with like nobody casting crew.
You look at any of their IMDb pages, and it's like The Room and like one or two other things,
and it's all like it's all filmed in and around this apartment. I think the locations of the movie are like the apartment, the roof of the apartment building, the alley outside the apartment, and like a flower shop.
Yeah, there aren't very many locations. There's a park that's shot on location, some establishing shots shot on location, but everything else.
But all the establishing shots were shot from buildings Tommy Wiseau owned.
Yeah,
right?
Tommy Wiseau owns a bunch of buildings in San Francisco.
So it's not like they were even paying anything to do any of that stuff.
Right, and then everything else was shot on sets, built in the soundstage from the place that he bought the camera equipment, more than camera and sound equipment from. Yeah, and everyone's working dirt cheap, but he has this bottomless well of money. And so he makes this movie, and it's just a hot mess from start to finish because he doesn't really know what he's doing, and he's very stubborn in doing what he thinks is the right way to go, and all these people with experience are trying to tell him, like his director of photography or his script supervisor, which have dozens of movies under their belts, they're all trying to tell him that's not how it's done, and he just brushes them off and does things his own way. And he eventually makes this movie, and it takes him forever.
From starting of writing the script to the premiere of the movie is like 4 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years to do that. I think he started in like 98 or 99. 99, I think he started writing it, and then it didn't premiere till like 2003 or something like that. And but even though it cost like $6 million to make, in the end, it made money.
Ultimately.
It took a long time to make money, but it made money, and it's because Tommy Wiseau paid for it to be in this theater, and he had this billboard up.
Yeah.
It doesn't talk about it in the movie, but in real life, he had this billboard up advertising it for several years. And he would do like a weekly showing.
They show the billboard in the movie.
Yeah. And so it would have like a weekly showing at the small theater somewhere, and so people would see that billboard and like, oh, what's that? And they would go see it. And they say, oh, you need to see this movie. So they get their friends to come back, and eventually through word of mouth, they were doing sold out shows. And ultimately, I just hit the mic. Did it again.
Stop that.
Well, not hitting the mic, I'm getting my hand caught on the cord. Ultimately made money, and through that, and I think Cartoon Network would show it on Adult Swim every so often, so he'd get payment for that.
Yeah.
Riff Tracks did it, so they had to license it for that. So
remember, like, Ryan was talking about how, like, when he was living in the dorms, they would have the room nights like once a month in like the common area in the dorms or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, it became this cult thing. It's hit like Rocky Horror levels.
Yeah.
People bring props to throw at the screen and stuff when they go to see the movie.
Spoons in particular.
Yeah.
If you're unaware, if you've seen the movie, there's photographs of spoons everywhere, because when they were making it, set decorators just went out and bought store-bought picture frames for things to hang on the wall, and they didn't take the pictures that were in the frames, and for some reason there was a bunch of them with photographs of spoons, like that was a still life, and stuck in these picture frames. Normally you get like a family or some flowers or something, but there were spoons for whatever reason, so there's all these pictures of spoons everywhere.
Yeah, so people throw plastic spoons at the screen, and you know, like the toast thing and
Rocky Horror Picture
Show. So yeah, I mean, it's hit like cult levels. So what's the obvious next step about to happen besides a book being written about it is James Franco and Seth Rogen make a movie about it.
Right. And they do a pretty good job.
Yeah, so there's a quote here that Seth Rogen tweeted out. That's, we made a movie about the worst movie, and it might be our best movie. And that is a very accurate description.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I've laughed at most of what Seth Rogen and James Franco have done, and they've gotten better.
Yeah, but I've never wanted to rewatch any of their movies.
Yeah, I've
seen like all their movies, but I've only seen any one of them once.
Yeah, I've never watched their movies and been like, man, that was a fantastic movie. It's, you know, it's just like, wow, that was a funny and ridiculous movie. Glad I watched it. But whatever, you know. This was a very well done movie.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the scenes are kind of funny to me because like you know, knowing that the two main characters are brothers in real life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so James Franco and Seth Rogen, they make movies and put their friends into them.
Which is what they did with this.
Which is what they did with this. Dave Franco is in it. Zac Efron is in it. You know, it's like
Chris R.
Yeah, Zac Efron played Chris R.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, it's like you see these people, you go, oh, okay, I remember him from that other James Franco and Seth Rogen movie. But yeah, I mean, it was just a really well done movie.
He really sometimes his characterization, James Franco's characterization of Tommy Wiseau is a little over the top. It's like more than he's a bizarre guy, and the way he talks is funny, but he goes a little far with it. But for the most part, he really kind of nails the essence of Tommy Wiseau.
He looks quite a bit like him when he's wearing that wig too.
Yeah, and I think they put some prosthetics on him too.
Yeah.
And then Dave Franco, yeah, he looks more or less like Mark. He looks close enough to Mark to play Mark. Greg Sesteros. the
Yeah.
actual guy's name.
He looked more like Greg when he had the beard.
Yeah. I think his face is a little rounder than Greg Sestero is.
But that's less important because people don't remember Greg Sestero from... I mean, they remember that there was this guy who was Johnny's friend in the room. But Tommy Wiseau plays Johnny in the room. He's the one that people remember. He's the one whose face is all over all of the advertising for the movie. That billboard, the posters, the cover of the DVD.
Tommy Wiseau's a bit of a narcissist.
Yeah. So, yeah,
I'd recommend the movie if you're a
see
fan. If you're a fan of The Room, I don't imagine there's anyone though who's a fan of The Room that is not planning to see this movie.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen The Room, you really should see it before you see this movie.
Yeah, I don't see this movie meaning a damn thing to anyone who hasn't seen The Room. But yeah, do recommend going to see it if you have seen The Room.
So, spoiler warning?
Yeah, so... I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say about it.
Well, the only thing I have to say that's kind of spoilery is just some comparisons to the book. There's a part in the movie where Greg and Tommy, they get in a fight, and Greg kind of ends their friendship for a while. I could be wrong, but I don't think that was in the book. I don't think that happened. I can see where, like, you want to add that sort of thing. It makes sense for a movie to add that sort of thing in. Yeah, they were pretty much just, they stayed friends, although Tommy did get jealous of Greg's minor success. He had more success than Tommy, so
yeah,
the way he saw it. And Tommy's really the only friend he ever had, or Greg's really the only friend Tommy ever had, so I could see where he might be afraid that Greg would like leave him behind, I think the book did more to humanize Tommy Wiseau. They had more time for it though.
Yeah.
Not that he's not humanized in the movie. He is sympathetic. You do feel for him at times. But I think the book did more to do that. And then also the book did give some past, whereas the movie always hid Tommy Wiseau's past. And thing comes at the end, nobody still to this day knows where Tommy came from, or I'm like, well, that's not really true. There's a portion in the book where Greg Sestero talks about what he's been able to get out of Tommy as far as where he's from and his childhood and stuff.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of always weird to me about like bioflicks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not a lot you can spoil. It's like if we sat down to review like Fargo or something. It's like, what? I mean, or not Fargo. Argo.
I was gonna say Fargo.
Yeah, not Fargo.
I was like pretty sure Fargo isn't real.
Yeah, I'm tired.
They claim it's based off true, but that's been proven false.
Yeah, no, Argo.
Argo.
It's like, hey,
well, at the time, at the time Argo was made, though, all that stuff was classified. It had been just recently declassified, so it was new information to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if let's see, what's that? Oh, if it ever shows up, the Darkest Hour. It's in theaters, but it's not playing anywhere around here.
Yeah,
about Churchill. Yeah, that you can't really spoil that. Anyway, but yeah, I mean that's the Disaster Artist. You know what you're getting. If you're at all interested in the movie, you should know what you're getting into. And
probably the only Seth Rogen and James Franco movie without drug use.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So coming up this week, we got Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's already people reviewing it. Who are at among the 6,000 people that were at the world premiere in LA.
We were kind of nearby.
we were nowhere near the premiere. We were nearby in that we were in the same state.
Yeah.
We weren't even in the same county. But anyway, so.
But we're in adjacent counties.
Yeah, sure. So anyway, but we're seeing that this week, so we'll throw a review up of that. I hear that it's the best Star Wars movie yet.
Really?
That's what people are saying.
People said that about The Phantom Menace. Briefly.
Very briefly, but I think people... I mean, this time, people haven't gone, like 20 years without a new Star Wars movie. So, or whatever. How long was it between the release of Jedi's?
99, let's see, 70, 76 to 99. Yeah, 23 years.
Yeah, so. Yeah, this time people have gone 1 year, a singular year, since the last Star Wars movie that was released. So, I think people's judgment is a lot less shaded, and I think a lot of people were going into it expecting it to be mediocre, because a lot of people felt that way about Force Awakens. So it's also apparently the longest Star Wars movie made to date, right?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
But then so the week after that, which is the week before Christmas, we're seeing Jumanji and The Greatest Showman.
Okie dokie.
So that's what's coming up. We'll probably see Last Jedi like 3-4 times in theater ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's true that it's the best Star Wars movie to date. So be on the lookout for those. Check out... We haven't been streaming the last couple weeks. It's been super busy and or out of town. But my schedule's opened back up, so I can do some more streaming now. 2.5 hours! That's the length of The Last Jedi.
Yep.
Wow!
That's like 20 minutes longer than the previous longest one.
Which was episode 3.
Yeah, it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, something like that.
Oh, it's so much Star Wars. That's like the most Star Wars for your credit.
Yeah.
Your Imperial credit. Or your Republic Titarians, or whatever they were called. Is that what they were called?
Well, at this point, I think they're Republic credits now.
Yeah,
New
anyway.
Republic credits.
Yeah, that's
of course, their economy's probably destroyed since their capital's blown up.
Yeah, that's a lot of Star Wars. I'm excited. Yeah, check out our streaming channel on Twitch. Everything _is_bad. And join us next time on the new Fangle Motion Picture Show as we review The Last Jedi. I'm so excited. Toodaloo.
Bye.